Welcome back to the Business Leaders of America podcast, where business leaders come to share their advice and journeys to success with existing and emerging leaders of America. Now, here's your host, Dylan Bloyd.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Business Leaders of America podcast. Today, I'm joined by Steve Crepeau, enterprise sales leader and entrepreneur, and the founder and CEO of SalesAtlas.ai, an AI-powered sales performance optimization platform built to help complex B2B sales teams improve execution, coaching, and win rates. Over the course of more than 3 decades, Steve has built and led high-performing sales organizations, advised more than 50 complex B2B sales teams, and helped companies strengthen their go-to-market strategies through sales enablement, coaching, and enterprise sales performance. His experience spans everything from early-stage startups to leading sales organizations through rapid growth and successful IPOs. Now, Steve is bringing that expertise together with artificial intelligence through Sales Atlas, a platform designed to capture the tribal knowledge of top-performing sales organizations and deliver strategic sales coaching at scale. In this conversation, we'll discuss Steve's journey in enterprise technology sales, the vision behind Sales Atlas, the biggest challenges facing today's sales leaders, and how AI is transforming the future of complex B2B sales. Steve, welcome to the show.
Dylan, thrilled to be on the show. Thank you so much for having me today. Really excited for this.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. I mean, you've had a chance to talk a few times, so I'm really excited to kind of share this with everybody. But, Steve, you've built your career around enterprise technology sales and helping organizations solve complex business challenges, right? So what initially drew you into the world of technology and sales, and what made you decide this was the path you wanted to pursue?
Good question. So a two-part story, if you'll indulge me, Dylan. The first thing is my best friend growing up in a small town in Western Massachusetts called Longmeadow, Massachusetts. My best friend's father was a salesperson, and he actually sold wallpaper and paint. But he was the number one salesperson for the entire country. And for his prize, he won a red Chevrolet Impala convertible with white leather seats. And I got to ride around in the car when he drove it home after winning the prize as the number one sales rep. And it was just awesome. And I loved the car. And I thought to myself, wow, this is what salespeople can earn. The second part of my story is I went to a 5-year university, Northeastern University in Boston, Massachusetts, and it's a cooperative education program. And what that means is it's a 5-year program to earn your bachelor's degree. And you're either in school or working in your potential career year-round for 5 years. So you have a co-op job. The co-op jobs are 6 months. I ended up landing the coolest co-op job of all time. I was a flight attendant on IBM's corporate marketing jet for 2 6-month stints. And I was actually traveling around with the best of the best enterprise technology sales reps and watching them interact with their customers. And I would actually be invited to go to some of their presentations. And I was in college, so I knew I wanted to go into sales. But at that point, when I had the experience and learned all the lessons, I was in awe of the enterprise selling magic that took place on the IBM corporate marketing jet. I knew I wanted to go into technology sales when I graduated.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, talk about on-the-job training, right? That is amazing. And then, obviously you have to have tough skin to be a salesperson, in general, right? Everybody knows that. But was there something early on where you might have experienced where you were like, maybe this isn't for me?
Yeah. So good question. I mean, I've always advised people that are looking to get into a sales career, and in particular, technology sales career, you have to be very resilient. You're gonna get a lot more rejection than you are positive reactions and responses, a lot more no's than yeses. And you really have to take the negatives in stride and stay even keeled and use that in a constructive fashion. So part of my challenge is I'm a sucker for the underdog, Dylan. And throughout my entire career, I've always been told, oh, well, you're not qualified for that. You're, for example, the IBM flight attendant job, you had to have a grade point average. And I was told by the professor who owned the IBM account for Northeastern University, Steve, you can't interview for that job because you don't have a high enough CUME. And so I actually found out who the decision maker was, wrote a letter, and actually drove to Poughkeepsie, New York, and got the job without the university. So my career is really a series of people telling me I wasn't capable of doing something,
Yeah.
which only fueled my motivation, which is I will prove you wrong and prove you wrong in the best way possible through sales success. So
Yeah.
yes, you have to be resilient. You have to have alligator thick skin in sales, and you can't take it personally,
Mm,
Dylan. Right? There's a way to constructively take in and learn from your losses and your failures. And some people would argue, and I would be one of them, that a lot of times you learn more from your losses than your
yeah.
successes and your wins.
Yep.
So I think maintaining a positive attitude, and I had a sales mentor early in my career, and one of the things that he always preached to me was stay even keeled. Don't get too high with the highs.
Yeah.
don't spend your big commission check on a BMW convertible, and don't get too lows with the lows. Stay even keeled. And I've practiced that throughout my entire career. And I tend to dispense that advice to newcomers to the sales industry.
Right, exactly. You're spot on. That's kind of been the theme lately of people speaking about that. Is like you do have to take the lessons from the wins and the losses, but at the same time, make sure you don't get too high on the wins and too low on the losses, because of course it's not going to stay. You just have to do your best to try and stay even keel, like you mentioned. So you're spot on with that. So Steve, you experienced nearly every stage of the technology sales journey, right? From working with startups to leading teams through major growth phases and successful IPOs. So how did the challenge and priorities change as you moved from building early stage companies to leading large scale organizations?
Okay, another great question. So I'm going to give you
Yeah.
two separate stories. My first software sales job was with a Boston-based startup, and I was employee number 10.
Oh,
And we developed and sold the first applicant tracking software that actually scanned in resumes, created an automatic applicant record, and then you could search the resumes to match against your open jobs. So
mm,
we sold to Fortune 1000 organizations. I was there for 7.5 years, and we were a bootstrap company. So
yeah.
we never took in venture capital. So we actually had to sell to grow the company. And I'll never forget, we were working a large deal. It was the largest deal in the history of the company at the time. And I was there with the CEO and co-founder. We were out to dinner with the C-suite from Bank of America. And
Wow.
we're kind of mulling about, and the customer wasn't there. He turned to me and he said, "Steve, do you think we're going to close this deal this month? Because if we don't, we're going to run out of payroll and not meet payroll in 3 weeks." And that was a really sobering moment for me, because I like to get paid. I know the rest of my peers in the company like to get paid.
Yeah.
And so the stress and pressure when you're in a startup is, are you extending the runway? You can't run out of cash. There's a lot of things you can fix in a startup, but you can't fix running out of cash.
Right.
Unfortunately, I've been on the other side of that, where I was with the startup as a chief revenue officer, and we ran out of money, and we
Oh.
couldn't raise money to keep the company afloat. We had to shut down the company. But
Mm,
the second story I will tell you is I've been a VP of sales for a publicly traded company. And
right.
with a publicly traded company, there's a significant amount of pressure and stress, and it's all quarterly driven. And
Yeah.
so you set expectations. Your CFO sets expectations with the analysts on Wall Street around, this is how we're going to perform this year. Are you a value-based stock and a growth-based stock? Are you a mature company, cash cow, etc.? So if you miss a number on a quarterly forecast that your CFO sets with Wall Street, your stock gets creamed,
Hmm.
and you lose hundreds of millions in the largest companies. You can lose billions of dollars in market capitalization, and you can
Right.
actually upset the people that recommended your stock. So
Hmm.
the cardinal sin in a publicly traded sales as a sales leader is you live and breathe about meeting the quarterly number each and every quarter. And then after you did everything in your power and your sales team pulled off sales heroics to close all the deals and make that number at the
Yeah.
11th and a half hour, you start fresh the next quarter, you do it all over again.
Yeah.
So the pressure and stress of being a sales leader, they're different. Whether you're a sales leader in a startup, it's all about not running out of money,
Hmm.
because that will end your journey very quickly. And in a publicly traded company, it's about not missing the number. Because if you miss the number twice, you're going to be fired as a chief revenue officer. So
Hmm.
significant stress, there's high reward. It's risk reward, right?
Yes.
It's not a career that's for everyone. And if you can maintain that even keeled balance, and you build a high performing team, it's actually pretty cool, Dylan, to
Yeah.
beat the quarterly expectations
Oh
every
yeah.
quarter and say, you haven't stumped us yet. We're going to keep winning.
Yeah, exactly. And it all starts with a great sales team, right? Of course. And you've seen that from both sides, but you're absolutely right because it doesn't matter where you're at, if you're with, Fortune 500 companies or startups, each one brings its level of stress, right? So after working with some of the world's largest companies and advising more than 50 complex B2B sales organizations, what patterns did you consistently see separating top performance teams from those that struggle to reach their potential?
Great. So the first thing is when I look at the top performing sales teams that I've led and the top performing sales teams that I've had the good fortune to work with and learn from, quite frankly,
Yeah.
the common denominator is they outdiscover and outdiscern their peers and their competitors. And what I mean by that is they ask the customer really smart questions about the problems that they're trying to solve through technology, and they
Yeah.
bring commercial insights to the table. They teach the customer something they didn't know about the problem or the situation that they're in. It's called the challenger sale. For those
Hmm.
of you that follow the challenger sale, it's a teaching conversation. And masters of enterprise technology sales, the common denominator is they are experts at discovery and discernment. And they obsess over learning more about the opportunity, the customer's customers than the competition. And when I've been a sales leader and my team has won super competitive deals and deals that really put you on the map, help you go public, help you, get acquired for billions of dollars. The thing is that when the customer tells you, we felt like you understood us better than all the other vendors out there that were trying to sell us their competitive technology. And that's discovery and discernment. The second
Hmm.
thing I would say is the best sales leaders in the world, it's their secret sauce still. And they don't talk about it. They're not posting on LinkedIn because
Yeah.
they consider it to be a competitive weapon, a moat, if you will,
Yeah.
which is they build a sales culture of continuous sales learning, and they obsess over learning from week to week, win to win, loss to loss, quarter to quarter. The only thing we know for certain in enterprise technology is it's incredibly dynamic.
Hmm.
So think about the AI world, right?
Yeah.
Uh, you know, each of the large language models are leapfrogging each other. They're releasing new releases seemingly every other week. So
Yeah.
this week it was ChatGPT that was the best of the best. Next week it's Claude AI. Then
Hmm.
it's Grok. Then it's Meta. Then it's DeepMind from China. It's
Yeah.
Kimi. I can go on and on and on. It's two full-time jobs just to keep up with who has the latest and greatest AI technology. So I would say the same model applies to the best sales leaders that I've ever had the good fortune to work with, and I've been blessed to work with, is they build this internal sales culture around we're going to collaborate and share, and we're going to win or lose as a team. And so we're not going to hoard information. So the top performing sales team makes President's Club and earns all the commission glory. But we've got this sales middle class that's lagging behind, and they're not
Right.
getting the appropriate attention from their sales managers. They're not getting the appropriate coaching because everybody is gravitating towards the top performers. That's a natural tendency as a sales leader. Great sales leaders understand the importance of building up that sales middle class,
Hmm.
and they do that through creating best practices and indoctrinating them into here's how we do world-class discovery here at XYZ Software Corporation.
Right. So when you're working with some of these companies, and you're seeing them not doing these things properly, is that kind of put you on the path towards Sales Atlas? Because I'm really excited to get into this, but is that kind of what made you realize, okay, that we need something like this?
Yes. So the first 4 to 6 weeks of every new consulting engagement that I've done over the last 18 years. And as you mentioned, I've done over 50 with everything from super white hot startups with
Yeah.
two founders and a dog in an apartment to, a veritable who's who. Palo Alto
Hmm.
Networks. I did a large Google Cloud security project last year. I've worked with Hewlett Packard extensively. Zoom. I can go on and on and on.
Yes.
But the most important thing is I come in with a blank canvas, Dylan. So I go through I go through my own discovery process, and I don't come in with any preconceived biases in terms of what's working well and what isn't.
Mm.
So I interview the top performers, the bottom performers, the sales engineers, the executive team. I also interview their customers, my customers' customers. My
Wow.
customers are not allowed on those calls.
Yeah.
Okay. As you might imagine, that creates a fair amount of discomfort. But the reality is the insights that I can glean from what was the customer's story around their buying journey working with my client and their onboarding and customer success experience. And
Yeah.
sometimes the story that I got from the team that sold the customer and from the actual customer that bought the software are two entirely different stories. So I have to
Yeah.
reconcile that and say, this is where the truth lies.
Mhm.
Okay. So I go through this 360-degree view discovery process, interviewing process. That's the first 4 to 6 weeks of any consulting project. And these are sales performance optimization.
Yeah.
So I diagnose what's winning. What are the formulas and nuances around why they're winning? Why are they losing? And why are deals ending up in the dreaded no decision state, where you invest
Mhm.
all these resources and 6 to 9 months of your sales cycle time, and at the end, they don't buy anything. They don't buy a competitor. They don't buy your product. They don't change from the status quo.
Yeah.
And there's a whole series of training that I've developed around how do you avoid the no decision deal, which is just, that's in many ways more painful than a loss.
Mhm.
But the bottom line is I go through this process. It's a methodology that I've developed and I've refined and optimized. And
Yeah.
it's all around codifying and capturing the tribal sales knowledge of that company, that sales organization. What are the products and services they sell? Who do they compete against? Who do they sell to? Who are typically their champions? Where does the budget come from to pay for their products and services? Typically, it can vary from company to company. Who is normally the economic buyer or decision maker on a technology purchase like theirs? What is
Yeah.
their market? What are the dynamics of their market? There's mergers and acquisitions. There's new startups every week. So the number one competitor last quarter may be an entirely different number one competitor 2 quarters from now with a company that just emerged and all of a sudden is kicking your ass and you don't know how to beat them.
Mhm.
So it's this continuous sales learning, um, basically capturing and codifying your tribal sales knowledge, but constantly updating those insights and propagating that out to the field so that everyone is selling better and more effectively, and you're truly optimizing your overall sales team performance.
Exactly. That's got to be the way you do it, right? When you go into a company, because you got to paint the entire picture, right? The way you're gathering your information. I've spoken with people who before, not in interviews, but who have said like, "Oh, I can walk into a business and have a full understanding of what's going on with them within an hour just from walking around their facility." And it's like that's painting one part of the picture. Yeah, of course that's important, but at the same time, it's not giving them all of it, right? And so, how long would that typically take you to gather all that information? Of course, before Sales Atlas, but how long would it take you?
So normally it's 4 to 6 weeks, but I've worked on some massive global projects
Yeah.
where I was developing custom sales playbooks and custom sales training and custom sales onboarding programs
Mhm.
for Fortune 50 companies, the largest of the large enterprise technology companies. And
Yeah.
so for example, I worked with Hewlett Packard on and off for 5 years, and for their cybersecurity division, I actually built the entire series of playbooks. I delivered training. I built an onboarding program. I built a new onboarding program with Palo Alto Networks a few years back that revolutionized the ramp time. The big lag time for any chief revenue officer is if you're hiring, for example, Palo Alto Networks. When I was working with them, they had a new CEO and a new president that they recruited from Google.
Mm.
And their mission was, we're going to hire 250 senior account executives, account managers in the first 3 months of this new fiscal year. And we need them ramped up in half the time it has taken us historically to ramp up a new sales hire to full productivity. So that was a daunting challenge.
Yeah.
So I was brought in because I had worked with their global sales enablement leader previously at Juniper Networks.
Mm.
And so I was able to come in and work. They had a phenomenal enablement team. I was able to work and sales leadership team. So I was able to work in the product marketing team. So I was kind of the conductor, and we architected this new 3.5-day intensive onboarding program where all new hires, groups of 30 to 40 would come in every other week, and we'd put them through this 3.5-day intensive onboarding boot camp. It was
Yes.
called Rev Up. And we measured ourselves, and given that the new leadership for Palo Alto Networks came from Google, these are data-driven decision makers. So we had to benchmark and prove out the value of this program because they invested a significant amount of money.
Mhm.
And we were able to demonstrate off the charts ROI because we were able to ramp up these 250 new hires in a period of time that they'd never seen before, which resulted in faster time to pipeline, faster time to bookings, so that they could continue to scale and grow the company. On top of that, Palo Alto Networks was going through an amazing acquisition period. So seemingly we would joke every other week, what cybersecurity company did we acquire last week since we delivered our last onboarding camp? So I'm talking about the dynamic nature of enterprise technology. It factors into sales performance optimization and consulting, which is you constantly have to keep up with the latest. And think about these salespeople. You're not selling one product. Literally over the course of a quarter, there's 3 or 4 new products that were added to your arsenal through acquisition. You have to learn how to sell all of those products. You have to learn how to compete against the competitors that you've never competed against. So it's really hard. It's really challenging. And honestly, only the best of the best, the elite Navy SEAL type enterprise technology salespeople can be successful in that type of environment. You have to be a sponge.
Yes. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Speaking of daunting tasks, it's not only a daunting task to have to come in and be successful in that, but also winning the people over that they're bringing you in, right? So some people, it's like, we've always done it this way. We're not going to change, we're doing fine. But speaking of adapting, how fast things are changing, they have to be open to it. So that's a daunting task in itself.
Well, it is. And what's interesting is I've learned the Google culture, and it's the Google culture, having worked directly with Google and working with the top 2 leaders from Google that were basically institutionalizing the Google culture into Palo Alto Networks. And the 2 driving factors are, let's disrupt ourselves, never let a competitor disrupt ourselves.
Yes.
So everywhere you go, every conversation, they ask, can we do it faster? Can we do it better? Can we do it faster? Can we do it better? Those are the 2 questions in every meeting that I was ever involved with, every communication: faster, better, faster, better, faster, better. So they reward disruption and innovation. They would rather withstand an internal challenge in terms of, even though this has been a successful, for example, they had a very successful onboarding program that they had delivered historically. The leadership team that was brought in from Google said, this is great, but we think we can do better. So we were benchmarked and compared against the old onboarding program. It was a little odd because they were literally, their cohorts would be going through their program at the end of the building where we were delivering ours. And then we would meet up for cocktails and hors d'oeuvres at night at the same shared venue. So a little awkward, but actually great folks. And, I love disrupting. I love a challenge. And I love innovating. And, the day that you lose I consider myself to be a perpetual student of the enterprise technology sales game. And the day that you think you have learned all there is to learn is the day you've died as an enterprise technology sales professional.
Yeah, no, I believe it. It's competition. You want that in your business, right? And so if someone out there is going to build it. So why not be able to build it internally? And then hopefully it turns out to where you can stay ahead of the game against everybody else, right? So no, it's spot on. It's a great culture to have, great mindset to have. But, I'm excited to speak about this, Steve, because for someone hearing about Sales Atlas for the first time, can you give us a high level overview of the vision behind the platform and what you believe it can change for sales teams?
Sure. So Sales Atlas is a platform that was really born out of the 18 years of sales performance optimization, custom consulting projects and programs that I've implemented for the 50 plus, complex B2B sales organizations that I've worked with. And the customers kept coming to me saying, hey, this stuff is great. The playbooks are great. The training is great. The onboarding program is fantastic. The best of the best, but things change. Is there any way that you could build software that would kind of bottle you up in your methodology and all these great frameworks? And so it was the customers asking for software. So it's an idea that I've had for the better part of 10 years, Dylan.
Yeah.
The practical reality is, and I actually shopped around a few custom software building shops. It wasn't feasible for me to bootstrap and build Sales Atlas until AI came along. And that changed the landscape entirely. So then I was able to attack what I believe is the most impactful, hardest problem to solve in enterprise technology sales, which is the discovery and discernment efficacy, and then sales coaching. So really, Sales Atlas is a real world sales opportunity platform where we analyze sales opportunities and we give best practices, expert sales coaching to the sales team that's working that opportunity on a real-time basis. So it's not a win-loss analysis, Dylan, after the fact, after the deal is won or lost. So there's three things that I say that Sales Atlas delivers to our customers. You're going to win deals that you're losing right now that you don't know you're losing, because we're going to bring that to your attention through math, through science, through AI analysis. You're going to win every deal you should win, because we're going to reinforce best practices to make sure your sales team doesn't make mistakes or take shortcuts. And you're going to win some deals that you probably should lose, because you're going to sell smarter than your competition, because we're leveraging AI and most of them aren't. Not in a meaningful, impactful way. So the thing that I like to say is Sales Atlas is an AI-powered platform, but it's curated by human experts. And that's our competitive moat, Dylan. That's our secret sauce, is that 35 years of enterprise technology sales expertise that I have, that I've delivered through these consulting projects. That's all programmed into the platform. So the first time any new Sales Atlas user sits down, they get all that wisdom, all that experience. It's all there, built into the platform.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. I've gotten a chance to look at it, and it is just truly amazing. And, so it's really not, I want this to be clear, is it's not here to replace salespeople, right? It's to make them perform like the top performing salespeople in their company.
Correct. So the way that I like to characterize it is, every chief revenue officer that I've ever worked with, and when I've been a CRO, you always use the expression, I wish I could clone Dylan, your top performer, right? But you really, the larger the sales organization, you want to clone your top sales reps. You also want to clone your top sales managers, because they're expert coaches, right? They're force multipliers. So the beauty of Sales Atlas is that because we capture and codify your tribal sales knowledge, in effect, we do clone your top sales reps, and we do clone your top sales coaches, even though that's illegal in the country. You can't clone sheep, right? But it's the closest thing to cloning your top performers, your top sales coaches. So what does that do? That elevates the performance of that all-important sales middle class. So we're taking all the behaviors and strategies and tactics of how Dylan won the massive model JP Morgan Chase deal for our cybersecurity division, right? And then instead of Dylan spending 20% of his time answering calls from all the other sales reps saying, Dylan, how did you work that deal? I've got a deal at American Express. So it's financial services. I'm competing against the same competitors that you beat at JP Morgan Chase. What was your formula? What was your secret sauce? So instead of, wasting about 20% of your time for your top performers, right, which by my math is 1 out of every 5 business days, is answering the same questions over and over again, we create a sales excellence knowledge base. This is the hidden value proposition of Sales Atlas. So every sales coaching conversation that any one of your sales team members has with Sales Atlas is automatically saved and indexed. So instead of calling you up, Dylan, and asking you for the 400th time, tell me the JP Morgan Chase story, Dylan. I'm going to go sell to American Express. I can literally just search for the JP Morgan Chase deal, and it pulls up all of your strategy, all of your tactics, when you were losing, when you were winning, how did you build a champion, how did you neutralize that blocker that wanted the competitive product, all of the magic, all of the strategy, all of the tactics, they're automatically and organically captured in Sales Atlas. So that frees up. So again, our focus really is on that sales middle class, Dylan, both your top. So look, top performing reps are top performing reps for a reason. So I would still argue that Sales Atlas will help them, a refreshing reminder of all the best practices, like don't slip, right? It's always useful. I don't care if you're Michael Jordan or Tom Brady, you still practice, right? Even though you're the GOAT. And that's part of what makes them the GOAT, is they don't take anything for granted. So Sales Atlas will improve the performance of your top sales reps and your top sales managers, top sales coaches. But where it's really going to move the needle is that sales middle class. And so what we've been able to demonstrate through the sales performance optimization programs that I've developed and implemented for the last close to 20 years now is that for that sales middle class, Dylan, we can improve the performance by 20 to 30%. by implementing a sales performance optimization program like Sales Atlas. So AI is capable of processing amounts of information that even the brightest sales rep in the world can't possibly process. So it can analyze and detect patterns over hundreds, if not thousands, of your real world sales deals and opportunities. And it can glean insights that humans can't. And so all of that becomes available in the form of Sales Atlas and the expert coaching.
Right. It evens the playing field for those guys, right? And it's not that they didn't have the information. It's just that they didn't have the tribal knowledge, or, they might not be as good, or not figuring it out as good as the top performers, right? So it evens the playing field, makes them start performing like high performers. And then at the same time, like you said, it doesn't mean that the high performers aren't going to continue to improve. They're going to continue to improve. So can you imagine all of your sales team just improving to that extent?
The other thing that I would add is there's sadly a self-fulfilling prophecy in technology sales, where you hire new people and some of those new people are going to be successful and ramp up quickly, but you're going to have a percentage of those new people that you hire that are going to struggle to learn your products, your services, how to competitively position, how to build a champion, in your customer accounts, how to neutralize a blocker, right? I don't care how successful they were before you hired them. There will always be sales reps that, for whatever variety of reasons, the problem is they don't get the attention from their sales managers.
Yeah.
And then what happens is this self-fulfilling prophecy snowballs out of control, Dylan, where they become embarrassed to ask their sales manager for help and admit that they're not understanding certain key sales behaviors that they're expected to execute. So what happens is they're not getting the coaching proactively because they're not winning any deals, or they're certainly not winning the big deals. So the sales manager is gravitating towards the big deals and the sales reps that are winning. So it's this self-fulfilling prophecy where sales managers commit the cardinal sin, which is you ignore your new hires and some of your sales middle class. And as a result of that, you have high turnover. I would argue, and I would submit to you, that some of those sales reps could have been successful had they gotten the right sales coaching and the right enablement and training, but they're afraid to ask for it. So one of the things that I've heard from a great sales leader that's really progressive minded is what he loved about Sales Atlas was it's a safe place for new sales reps or sales reps that are struggling to learn how to sell effectively to ask the sales coach, so that they're not exposing the fact that they're not getting it, right?
Right.
And so it may take 2 or 3 times, and then Sales Atlas is picking up on the fact, because it's a pattern, is Dylan keeps asking about how to overcome this one objection, and we can basically notify your manager, can you help Dylan? We're giving him the guidance through coaching, but you probably want to do some role playing with him. Right? Because what we're seeing through this pattern and gleaning this insight is he's struggling with overcoming this specific objection, and he doesn't want to admit that to you. So it's a safe place for new sales reps to learn without being embarrassed. It's also a safe place for sales reps that are struggling to be successful to say, I can ask the question. I'm not afraid of someone saying, okay, now you're on a performance improvement plan because, you admitted that you're struggling.
Right.
So,
exactly.
So I think one of the things that's really important to convey here is we built Sales Atlas for salespeople first, leadership second. If you think about all the sales tools that are out there, Dylan, the CRMs of the world, like Salesforce.com, HubSpot, Pipedrive, the conversational intelligence tools like Gong and Chorus. I mean, I can go on and on and on. I think the average enterprise technology sales team uses somewhere between 7 and 10 different sales tools, and they're all siloed. They don't talk to each other. They don't share information. So, but if you ask any successful sales professional, has Salesforce.com ever helped you close a deal? They would laugh at you. Has Salesforce.com ever helped you make more commission than you've ever made before in a year of selling? They would laugh. Has Gong helped you? They would say no. It's a historical record of what's transpired, but that's for management. That's for forecasting. Right? That's where you get the pretty dashboards and all the analytics. So for the leadership team, Salesforce.com is awesome because then they can see what's happening, what isn't happening. Is the pipeline short? Do they not have 3 to 5x coverage? Are there particular regions that are struggling? So those are all the levers and knobs that a sales leader, a CRO, or a sales leadership team needs. But I would argue no CRM is helping a sales rep close a deal.
Yeah.
Sales Atlas was designed, purpose-built to help sales people sell more effectively. The benefit is you get all the leadership stuff, but that wasn't the primary motivation and design principle. The design principle was, let's help your sales middle class learn how to sell better. Bottom
Right.
line.
Right. So I want to dig a little bit deeper on this because, say you just run us through a scenario. For example, if you were to prompt one of these large platforms, ChatGPT, you say, I want to be do your research on all the best salespeople in the world. And, I want to be able to sell this because I can't lose this sale. So I need help versus them doing that same thing in Sales Atlas. So what's going to be the big driving difference?
Right. So if you're using a generic large language model like ChatGPT or Claude, those are the two big ones. Pick your favorite. Doesn't matter. And every other week it changes. So again, but if you're using a generic out of the box large language model, you can get decent coaching and decent advice. The problem is it's not specific to your tribal sales knowledge. So it's at a very generic level. So Sales Atlas is each implementation of Sales Atlas is customized to that customer. So what type of software do you sell? Who do you sell to? Who do you compete against? Why do you win? Why do you lose? How do you properly build a champion in your opportunities? How do you neutralize blockers? That's something that at a generic level isn't going to add any value to a sales rep. So you could ask ChatGPT or Claude AI generically, how would you build a champion? It's going to give you some really, really smart $5 words.
Yeah.
But it's not specific to your market, your competitors, your products, your services, your company. Whereas everything in Sales Atlas is customized and tailored to you as an enterprise technology sales company. And that's why the value of the sales coaching and the insights and the patterns that we glean, we will blow the doors off of any generic sales coaching product that's out there in the market today. Let's go head to head. I invite that, and just let the sales team look at, enter a prompt here, enter the same prompt into Sales Atlas. You tell me which is providing you with more strategic value, sales team, and we will blow their doors off.
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of tribal knowledge, you have it, the people you've worked with have it, and you guys have all contributed to this, so it's knowledge that a lot of people just do not have. And that's why it's amazing that you guys have built this. So, based on your experience working with these complex B2B sales organizations, what types of companies in Sales Atlas built for? And are there specific industries or company sizes or sales environments where you believe it can have the greatest impact?
Yeah. So, any sales organization that's growing and selling enterprise technology. So, if it could be a Series A company, with a small sales team of five to 10 people. It could be for Fortune 500. So we're talking to a company right now that has 600 salespeople globally. And then they have regions, and then they have sales managers, and they have sales engineers, they have system architects, because, so any enterprise technology sales team, Dylan, is a good fit customer for Sales Atlas. So anyone if you ask a CRO that sells his sales team or her sales team sells enterprise technology, meaning complex B2B sales process where you're selling to a bunch of different stakeholders. There's a lengthy sales cycle evaluation. It's very technically oriented. There's a lot of competition, but you're commanding a premium deal size. So we're talking, 50 to 100,000 minimum, if not hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars in subscription fees per year, right? That's the class company that Sales Atlas was purpose-built for. So we do have a tremendous amount of expertise in cybersecurity, as I've been mentioning throughout this call. So any cybersecurity sales organization that's out there, you are the beneficiary of all this great consulting work that we've done and sales performance optimization work that we've done, because all of that intellectual knowledge is built into the platform for any cybersecurity company. Then we would take it to the next level of relevance and accuracy by codifying and programming in your tribal sales knowledge before your sales team starts using it. So there's nothing in the market. If you're a cybersecurity sales leader, there's nothing that could compare. And if you wanted to think about internally developing something that would be comparable, we've been building this for over 3 years, and, we've got hundreds of years of enterprise software sales experience that architected, designed, and built this and tested it, field tested it before we ever made it available for a customer.
Yeah.
So you'd be hard pressed to say, yeah, we can go vibe code this in a weekend with Claude AI. My advice to you is good luck with that.
Yeah, go try.
Go try.
Yeah, exactly. So cybersecurity companies and anyone else, make sure you guys are one of the first, go do this, because who knows, your competitor might be jumping on it quicker. And I also want to talk about, because as you look ahead over the next 3 to 5 years, what would your vision be for Sales Atlas? And what do you hope it becomes for sales organizations around the world? Because again, everything's changing so quickly. So I guess we could even say in the next year or two, right? Because 3 to 5, who knows what it's even going to look like. So can you break that down for us?
Sure. So I think the sales tool landscape is highly fragmented and is overdue for a consolidation. So if you think about, and like, for example, the old ERP market, right? There used to be HR specific software, manufacturing specific software, and financial specific software. SAP said, there's actually interdependencies between all of those. Why wouldn't we build one system that's integrated for a company? The same Salesforce.com said the same thing with CRMs around, we can do this in the cloud. So it's lightweight. You can start using it immediately. And unlike the old antiquated CRM systems, the world like Siebel, it would take 3 years to implement and $50 million, and it may or may not work. Right. Salesforce, you can start using it the first day you subscribe to it. So I see this sea change opportunity that AI, quite frankly, has enabled. This wouldn't have been possible without AI. But I'm just going to say this is my bold statement. In 3 years, my vision for Sales Atlas is that we will become the next gen sales platform for all technology sales organizations. So you won't need a Salesforce.com. You won't need a call recording engine. You won't need a sales coaching engine. All of those siloed products that you have today, those will go away. You will have a real-time AI-driven platform that helps you outsell your competition, and everything that you need is built into one platform, and that will be Sales Atlas.
Man, that's a bold statement, Steve. I'm excited to see it grow, and knowing everything that I know about you, your background, I really think that it's going to be successful just to what you're envisioning right now. So, Steve, I really do appreciate you joining today. I wanted to ask for listeners who want to learn more about you, Sales Atlas, or follow your work. What's the best way for them to connect with you?
Okay, excellent. Glad you asked that. So, I'm writing a book, so I'd be remiss if I didn't promote the book. The book is Moneyball and AI in Enterprise Technology Sales. So I'm writing a book, and on LinkedIn, I have a newsletter. So I'm actually giving a sneak preview of each chapter each week. So you can follow me on LinkedIn, Steve Crepeau. True Sales Results is the consulting company. Sales Atlas, you can go to SalesAtlas.ai. For any CRO out there, I would encourage you that's interested in this. We actually have a CRO survey. It's complimentary, and we ask you about your key sales challenges. And then by checking the boxes, it just takes a couple minutes. We then run that automatically against our sales coaching engine, and we get back to you with a full diagnostic report around, what are the key problems? How acute are they? What happens if you don't fix them? And here's a prescriptive remedy to fix these immediately. And that's all complimentary. But what we're doing is we're giving you a taste of the AI intelligence that's built into Sales Atlas, coupled with some of the human expert curation, which is all of our best practices frameworks. So you'd actually get a taste of what it would be like to use Sales Atlas by completing a free CRO key sales challenges survey. So www.salesatlas.ai. Follow me on LinkedIn, follow True Sales Results on LinkedIn, follow Sales Atlas. We produce a ton of free content because we want to educate the market and share our insights and best practices with the market, and would love to engage with you. If you want to see a demo, sign up for a demo. Happy to show you. The product sells itself. They'll love it.
Yeah, man, all complimentary. You guys got to check this out. Like you said, he gave you the websites. I'll make sure they're in the show notes as well to make it a little bit easier for everybody to access. And again, Steve, this has been truly amazing. I really appreciate you joining today and spending time with me and the listeners.
Dylan, great podcast. Thank you so much for inviting me on. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.